It's the Rangers Journal night.
Good evening, everyone. You are in the right place tonight. Yes, this is the Rangers Journal. I am your host, Ross Graham. And tonight we've got our Q&A session where you guys pose questions to the panel and we'll try and give some kind of smart answer back. But with these guys on board, I'm not sure how we'll get along. First of all, I'm going to introduce our very own Ruud van Nistelrooy. Gary, how are you tonight, mate?
I've never been called that. Thanks, Ross. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
He's a good player.
I'm laughing about the insult, but no, I'm doing good. I've been busy the last few days, so I know nothing that's happening in terms of football. I don't know international scores. Kept out of all the websites and social media. The only thing I've done is watch the Tavernier pod you were on a Monday night. Other than that, I've kept away from everything else.
So it's taken 1 minute and 4 seconds to mention James Tavernier. That must be a record.
Get the elephant in the room out of the way.
Absolutely that. So tonight we're going to have a bit of fun. We're going to have a bit of banter flying about, and we've got our very own joke of a human, Mitch, on board tonight. How are you, mate?
All the better for seeing you again, son. It's been a while.
It has been too long. And Scott from Not Another Rangers podcast. Welcome back on the Rangers Journal. How are you, bud?
I'm okay, Ross. Thanks to be back on here. And it's good to see you three again. So, Mitch for the first time, but Gary, I know, and yourself. So it's good to be on here and answer some questions. Whether they like my answers or not, I'll give it a bash.
Good man.
No such thing as a bad answer, mate.
Very true. Yeah, we haven't had your answers yet, Mitch. So we'll leave that one to the jury, shall we? Look, so I'm going to get into the questions very soon, but I thought it'd be worth posing a question to you guys watching at home and those that are listening on the podcast after the recording. And this is a bit of I'm springing this on the lads as well, because you'll have to give us some impromptu answers. But I saw this thing, it flashed up on Facebook or Twitter, I can't remember. It was TalkSport a while ago when they were looking at footballers with food in their names. So I was trying to really rake there through the old Rangers players and see if I could get any. I've got 3 to kick us off. So please don't boot me off already. But first one, Michael Moles Marinier.
Where's the tomatoes, boys?
Very painful. Next one, Basil Spag Bolly. They're not getting better, are they? The last one is probably the worst of the 3, which is saying something because those 2 were horrible. Barry Bergeson.
That was honking, mate. Absolutely rank.
Awful. Bad. Not good.
I've
feel like
waited months to be in a pod with you, and this is what you hit me with.
I feel like this segment's not gonna last after this week, is it? Anyway, look, we're having a joke. Look, I wanted to just quickly get. Also, please put yours in the chat as well, because I need someone to help me out with
Just
something
remember,
worse than what I've just said.
Fernando Rice Crispian.
Thank you. You have saved me with an even worse one, which I didn't think was possible. Anyway, let's get this show on the road and answer some questions, shall we? First question has come in from Stephen Wilson and Ruud van Nistelrooy. I'm coming to you first. Where should Bajrami play at the weekend? I think in the internationals there he was playing off the left. But where do you see him fitting in the team?
Well, he'll only have had 2 or 3 sessions on the bench, I'm assuming. He should start. I think what will probably happen is he'll play number 10 because that's the position we signed him for. That seems to be the position he's best at. Lawrence has actually probably played more of his career left midfield type role, I think, if I remember rightly. So, although he's never done it for Rangers, bizarrely. So you think logically Bajrami is going to come in to number 10. Sounds like an ideal game. Whether he starts, I'm not convinced, to be honest with you. I was joking there. I'm not convinced he'll start. I think going away to Tannadice, he might think the time trusted Lawrence is a better option. Cortez left and maybe Bajrami from the bench. Or Bajrami.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a couple of weeks now, hasn't he, to settle in. Scott, what were your thoughts? Do you reckon we could see him from the start, or do you reckon it'll be a cameo appearance, as Gary says?
It's very hard to judge a manager because he's usually quite stubborn in his decision making, as in he doesn't change it. So, like Gary said, he usually waits till with a few training sessions under the belt with new teammates and maybe some furniture shopping, whatever else I have to do. But You can stick him at right back, couldn't you? So a lot of issues. No, I think you could probably put him at left hand side or at number 10. I think that's what we've bought him for anyway, across the front middle three behind Dessers. But I still don't know if he will start him. I think if it was at home, he'd probably start him, but because it's at Tannadice, I think he'll go with his tried and tested, whatever that is.
Yeah, I get it. It's tried and tested. It's not necessarily successful, but I completely hear you on that. Mitch, we need an impact. We need a change. Where's your head up with Bajrami? Do you start him or not?
We'll see both his international games this week. He's played one at 10 and then one in the right. So I personally speaking, we put him in at 10 because he's a really intelligent presser of the ball. He likes to be in about it, and by Lord, he's got some right peg on him. By the way, I watched him take a couple of, albeit not score for Albania, but Christ on a bike, he doesn't half like to lobby one from 20 to 25 yards out. Leave him in there, let Dessers go and do all the grunt work at the top and open some trap doors at the front. Could it be that we see him on the 60-minute mark, maybe come on for the last half hour after the Hearts are already tired, they're struggling? You bring on an injection of pace like that and they might not know what to do with themselves. You know, I think for me, they'll probably put him in at the 10 and let Dessers do the big man work in front of him, because he has got that natural pressing ability to stay with where the ball is.
Yeah, I completely hear you on that. I think you're probably right. For what it's worth, I reckon he will start. I think he will start in that 10. I think he's probably our big marquee signing. I know it's probably not the level that we wanted, or not the caliber that we wanted, but I do think he's probably the marquee signing that Clement's had his mindset on for a while. It'd be good to get your thoughts at home. Should Nadim, Baj, Peperami play in the 10 at the weekend, or would he maybe go for Yanis Baji?
Do you know, I think
if that makes sense. What's that, Mitch?
There's a wee follow-up comment there, obviously, when you mentioned about the marquee signing side of him. I think it's worth remembering, if he wasn't playing at Sicily and they hadn't been relegated, he is a player that we would not afford to have got in the window there. He is realistically an £8 to £10 million player in any other team in Italy. And the only reason we've got him as cheap as we've got him is because of the situation that they're in and the fact that he put the transfer request in to push the transfer through. You know, so I think he's one of these players that you don't want to undersell just how good he probably actually is.
Yeah, it's a fair comment. And if you're watching at home and wondered why I've just put two ridiculous names in as Yanis Badji and Baj Peperami, I'm trying to fit as many food names into Rangers players, so please put them in and help me with this tragic segment. The next question that we have got up, and Scott, I'm going to come to you on this one. Where do we expect Kassam Wurjo to play if he starts? And I guess the other question is, do you think he could get a start?
I think he'll play at centre back, but I don't think he'll start. I think the centre backs will be the ones usually goes with Suter, and I've just totally slipped my mind. The lad they brought for FC20, Proper. Yeah, I think I'll go with they two. I think because Proper's the one he went for. Suter, I think we really like John Suter. I mean, Balogun actually done okay when he comes on, but I don't know if he'll play Balogun and then 3 games in a week or whatever. I don't know what he'll do with Leon, but I like Leon Balogun. Or I know he can also play full back, so does he play him right back and move to have somebody else, or leave him at the bench? I don't know. I'd like to see him, to be honest with you, because I think we need somebody more dominant in the box. I think we're missing that. I think we're missing somebody who can just clear everybody out and hit the ball away. Nothing fancy, just defend. And if this boy can do it, then put him in there. But I'm not 100%, like I said earlier, what Clement will do. I think he likes to go with players he's been around about for a while and he can trust. And I don't think you probably see enough of this guy to put him straight in.
Yeah. So we've got him on loan with an option to buy at the end of the season, Gary. And I think when I was reading about it, Clement said that this guy was brought in for his versatility. So can play right back, left back, centre back, maybe even as a holder midfielder if needed. Do you see him being a supplementary player to the squad, or do you think he's brought him in as someone that can actually start and kind of lock down a position?
I would think as utility players up now, they kind of fill in the gaps. They play when other players aren't playing, don't they? They don't normally nail down a position. So And again, I suppose the other part was he also was well down the list of people we're trying to buy for that position. You know, so I don't think there's necessarily one that we see come in and take a spot there and then. You could write up some decent stuff in terms of scouting when you read scout reports, but I'd be very surprised if he has been primed to be a starting position. And if it is, I think as Scott says, to me, he seems to be more of a centre back. He played right back last season, and we're now suggesting he's a right back. That seems to be the way. So it would be for Suter, which I think at this moment in time, swap Suter for unknown, untried at Tannadice again is highly unlikely.
Yeah. Mitch, what's your 2 cents on this one?
I think this is probably one that you put him in. If we're talking this weekend in particular, I would have Sterling in at right back to take, and it's not a personal gripe about Tav or anything at all, but I just think given how things have been the last couple of weeks, maybe taking him out the fire for a game or two does everybody maybe the world of good. Put Sterling in at right back, and I would probably put him in with Proper and at centre back, because I think we can't keep expecting players to go 40, 50, 60 games in a season. This is how we end up as injury FC, by overplaying players week in, week out. These are the sort of times that you can start to give players like Suter, who's played every game of the season, you say, tell you what, we're going to put somebody else in now. Freshen up the back line completely and try something new.
Mm-hmm. I'll just come back to you on that one, Mitch, because for me, I think we're still trying to find some kind of form. I'm not sure whether we can risk supplementing new players in, especially in that defensive line. Just feels to me like we're still trying to work out how we want to play, and Dundee United will be so fired up for this. You know they will be at Tannadice.
I think these are the sort of games, and no disrespect to Dundee United, these are the sort of games that you try things out on. We are a team that put together, you put that team down on paper, it should comfortably beat Dundee United, regardless of what 11 they put out. That's not being a disrespectful to Dundee United, but that's more of a, you take cost per play, you take wages and everything else into account. We should be able to go there and play whoever we want to play and still win 2-0, 3-0 and be fairly comfortable. I know they're a very well run outfit over at Tannadice, but again, the quality gap in who we have versus who they have in terms of players should still give us that ability to at least bring in 1 or 2 new faces at the back and try something fresh.
Yeah, take that on board. Gary, it'd be good to get your thoughts on that.
I'd have to disagree, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's Tannadice, their first time back in the Premier League after being out of it. We don't have much of a liking for us at the best of times, and it's reciprocated. I think they'll be very much on the front foot for it, and I think that they will go with a tried and tested team. And again, with an international break, I suppose I try to think logically. With an international break, so people have had time to rest, to train, to do other stuff that goes with it for most of them. I think it's going to stick very much with a settled side, and the following week against D is more likely to see those changes that Mitch is maybe talking about when you've got a game at Ibrox. Nice to say that as we're going back there. A game at Ibrox, they'll maybe bring them in certainly for more time than they will on Sunday.
And this right here is exactly why Clement can never do right, because even here amongst 4 of us, we still can't decide what sort of a team to play the weekend. So he'll always split the fan base. Scott, I'm going to come to you on this question from our very own Doug. It's quite an interesting one, actually, and it was quite an interesting watch, this. So Jamie Murphy, I'm not sure if you saw the interview that he had. I think it was on Open Goal, when they were talking about his transfer across to us. And for those that haven't seen it, there was Jamie Murphy had said that as he was at Murray Park, I think it was at the time, Ockenhowie, he got a call from his agent basically saying the deal is off because we've had a call from an unknown SPFL club basically saying that Rangers can't afford the transfer. So in some way trying to put him off or close down the transfer before he even had done his medical or agreed terms. And I guess Doug's question on this is, how often do you think that this kind of thing might be happening?
In what way? As in phoning up saying Rangers are skint or just interfering in transfers?
I guess. Well, I guess there's 2 points to it. The first one is: do you think that happens with us? Do you think there's a club out there or clubs that would try and maybe shut something like this down if they thought we were buying someone good? And then I guess as a wider question, do you think this happens in football? It seems like a huge anomaly to me.
I think it happened in football for various reasons. Last minute deals go away well for all different reasons. But I think this one basically, is it pettiness? Is it obsession? I've not got a clue, but I think it's poor for the club, other club involved. If it's a club I think it is, at that time, they're miles ahead of us, which they are at the moment. And even consider doing something like that, to me, it's quite obscene. I wouldn't go into my head to do something like that. Doesn't matter who it was involved. I think he's a sour taste in mouth, but we kind of know what happens with other clubs. So I think probably happens quite a lot in football with transfers. Try to get people to go elsewhere at last minute, offering all different stuff. But I think this is kind of different. Watch, I think following up to kind of clipping somebody to say or spread rumours about somebody, even though at that time they might think they were true, but it turned out it wasn't, because obviously Jamie came and the transfer fee was paid. So I think it's poor taste from the club involved, but it just shows you it does happen. It's took a while to come out. I heard that story before, but obviously it wasn't really verified until Jay Murphy said it himself on that podcast. So it just shows you what lies in the deep waters of Scottish football. And we may be a wee country, but it's no great, is it? Some of the stuff that happens behind closed doors up here.
Yeah, completely agree. And Paul's put a good statement there. They messed with a player's livelihood, which I think probably sums it up quite well, really. Mitch, it kind of feels like the sort of thing you'd do, to be honest. How do you sit on this one?
I'll be honest. I think if I put an adult head on it for a minute and not nonsense for a minute, do I believe that Jamie Murphy might be talking an element of mince? Possibly, because he's currently without a club. You know, man without club, wants to get his name branded about, maybe fancies come back up to Scotland. Not necessarily with either side of the divide, but get your name back out there by going an open goal there. Certainly maybe a Hearts or a Hibs or a team that maybe need a striker. Your name suddenly becomes obviously, oh, he's floating about up here, let's have a chat with him while he's up. Do I believe it happens across football generally? Absolutely, hands down. You know, we've seen it, and I know she got absolutely roasted for saying it, Emi Aluko, but you know, she's mentioned it herself there, where you know, friends over at other clubs will say, go and put in a fake bid for player X that we're interested in because we want our chairman to pull his finger out a bit earlier and pull the trigger to get this transfer done. Football's probably one of the most filthy rich but most grubby games next to politics in terms of how things are done. And we all know there's dark arts that go on in the background. You know, none of us are stupid. Suddenly a player's meant to be going to, you know, call it Club X over in Italy, and then all of a sudden they're off to Inter Milan to go and become a squad player, for example. You know, we've seen it happen time and time again, and it probably does happen a bit more than we think, but I think in this particular instance, I think there's maybe a wee element of an out-of-contract player saying something a bit daft to drum up some interest in his name.
Yeah. Gary, it'd be good to get your thoughts on it. I guess I think now in modern football, there's so many different middlemen, isn't there? From the clubs, agents, media, a number of different, you know, interference levels that could influence something like this.
Yeah, I suppose I was thinking when we were talking there, it's not the beautiful game, really, is it? Do you know, it's that whole saying, it's a corrupt money-making, dog-eat-dog business whereby every trick in the book's used to maximise what you can get at it. Do you know? And the funny thing was, I was remembering a story with John Hartson and Ronald de Boer. If you remember that one at the time, do you know, Rangers all had the money to sign one of them and put out that John Hartson had failed the medical. Basically, I think it was John Hartson's version of the story, isn't it? You know, and Rangers' version was he wasn't fit to play and so on. And then third version is it was not enough money to pay to them. So there's always stuff going on back in probably every transfer and every story. And the sad thing about Jamie Murphy one is we all sit here and think it was probably true. We didn't have the money, and if I remember rightly, we didn't have the money as time went on. To get a while to pay it, wasn't it? There was issues with it, but no, it's football. You know, it's people making money, looking to make more money, and how they can maximise that money.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've just seen that our very own Doug has joined, so welcome, Doug. Thanks for joining us again. Please do help me out with my food-based Rangers players puns. For those that didn't hear, we have got Barry Bergerson, Basil Spagboli, and Michael Maronier. Doug, I'm relying on you, mate. Move across to Bob Harris' question. Bob, thanks for chucking this question our way. And Scott, I'm going to come to you first on this one. Clement, or should we say Philip Clementine? Is that food maybe? Came out and said that we might be looking into the free agent market. It's clearly an area that we haven't really dabbled in too much once the transfer windows closed in recent years. But do you think we will bring in any free agents prior to January?
I'd like to say we would, but I'm not 100% sure because there has been free agents out there that we've looked. Well, I don't know if you've looked at, but fans have looked at. There's been different folk doing scouting reports on and stuff, putting them on social media, and you think that boy looks good for the other side. He's free, or so and so's free. And there's fullbacks out there, there's defensive midfielders out there. I mean, it's a way some of the players go nowadays. I don't want to re-sign my clubs who put themselves on a free market and a bit more money for them, but there is value out there if you want to go and get it. Even signing somebody at the end of the season gets him back in the shop window. Do I think Clement will make that move? I don't know. Did the board back him to make that move, or did the board get money to make that move? I don't know. Listen, to be honest with you, what Philip Clement tells me now, I don't believe. I used to buy into all his stuff, but at this moment in time, he could tell me it's raining outside and have to check to make sure. I don't really trust what he says anymore.
It's a really interesting one, isn't it? He's almost gone back a few times on his word, and some of the things that we hear publicly aren't always the things that you kind of hear being leaked out. Mitch, it'd be good to get your thoughts. Do you think it's going to have to be a Tav replacement or something like that would then induce us to have to go into that
Ironically, market? I don't necessarily think we need to replace Tav, and that may come as a shock to a few people, but internally we've got Big Casa, at the back there. We've got Sterling, whose natural position is a right back. We've got Adam Devine. That should be more than enough to see us through to at least January. Barring anything, spectacularly going Pete Tong at the back, there's enough versatility and enough cover to cover the back line for me. I think if we were going to dip into free agency, it would probably be for a number 6. And that's me. If you put your head on it there and you say, if Tav leaves, that frees up quite a considerable chunk of money, which means maybe the market in free agency, we maybe go from shopping here to shopping here, where you say, well, do you know what, that's 35 grand a week, 35 to 40 grand, depending on which way you want to, believe which way the wind blows. You can say, well, I'll tell you what, we were going to maybe offer player X 20 grand a week, but actually free agent Y is maybe available for 28, 29, but they're maybe 28 years old, 29, maybe 30. Could we offer them a 2-year deal at, kind of still less money than Tav was on, but knowing that we're maybe going to get 2 more years out of them as opposed to, bit of a short-term solution. But I think the problem with free agency, and I think, if you ask me, we've all been very guilty of going, well, all these players are available on frees and everybody like that, but we've just touched on it just a few minutes ago. In football, all these players' agents' phones are ringing, the agents are ringing around other clubs and essentially touting their wares across all the leagues and across the top 5 leagues and saying, we've got player X, we know that you've got some injury problems over here. The top quality of the free agency market will probably start to gradually disintegrate over the next week. And it'll be a case of, do we bring somebody in for the sake of being a body and they don't necessarily contribute much, which puts us back to the previous transfer model we were in, mediocre players on too high a wage? Or do we bring in one quality outfield person that is maybe that opportunity that's too good to turn down because they're free right now? So I think the head says probably no, the heart says give me one.
Gary, do you think we need reinforcements? I know Mitch used the term bodies there, but do we just need bodies? Do we need someone that if we pick up an injury, you've got someone who's maybe been around the block and understands how to come in and kind of, do a certain job?
I'll answer this very quickly because there's probably lots of questions. No, I don't think we'll bring in a free agent. Whether we should or not, I think it's a different debate. I'd be very surprised if we do. I suppose if you're a fan, you can't have everything. Well, despite you wanting everything, you can't say we want to play youth, but we want to bring in players to beef up the squad so the youth can't play. Do you know, I think we'll stick with what we've got. I think come January we'll maybe bring a couple of players in, whether it be pre-contract or something. But from now, I'm not sure we'd get enough value of bringing in a free agent that would add enough to the squad that would help it. Now, I would personally.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I think I probably tend to agree with you on that one. Shout out to Paul. Thank you very much. Yanis Haggis, a good one there. That one is good and probably puts mine to shame already. So that one was very good. Keep those coming in. We'll get those on the screen immediately. And in response to Curry's question, have I got wind up internet tonight? Yes, I am in a borderline 2-star hotel in North London with probable wind up internet. So apologies if I'm breaking up a bit, although I am talking a bit of rubbish anyway. So probably not worth listening to.
Rice under the desk, a couple of Rice Krispies, and they'll be all right.
That's it. That's the one. So Cami has come in with a question, and Gary, I'm going to come to you on this one. Are you concerned? First of all, do you think there has been a drop off in Jack Butland's performances, probably since, I'd argue, the last probably 4 or 5 games of last season and into this season? And if so, do you think that's something we should be worried about?
I think there's certainly been a drop off, and I know there's some other analysis that's been shown in various other sites about you see the drop off quite visibly. I think from March probably. I think is when the drop off started, if I remember rightly, and right through to pre-season was pretty worrying, and you start to think it's pre-season because he did sell a few goals badly, and he started quite poorly this season. I think my worry is that this is something that's happened in his career numerous times. I think he's at Stoke and various things. He'd formed big form dips. So my worry would be that it's not an isolated small part of form drop off. It's something that happens to him as a player, and whether it's confidence, whether it's some other reason, that's the concern. He certainly isn't performing anywhere near the way he was. I don't have a lot of. I suppose if I was to throw back a question to you, Ross, right? If you'd McGregor from 3 years ago, Butler now, would there even be a contest as to who should be in the team?
3 years ago.
Europa League year.
Europa League year, no, McGregor was untouchable. Absolutely untouchable. I remember it got to a point where, and it was his downfall when I think he was just told to stay on his line for any ball that went in the box, and it was the cheat code to score against us. I remember it was like McGregor just couldn't come off his line at some point. So I think they sort of didn't want him to come off and didn't feel he was mobile enough. But no, I take your point completely.
Do you know? I would say just one thing. I would say if I was given a more balanced answer, I'd say I think he was overhyped the first 6 months, and maybe slightly. What's happened is he dropped back to a little bit of normality. I think the hype he got and the praise he got was over the top for me a lot of time that first 6 months. And now that he has dropped to a more normal level of form, people are seeing it a more marked difference.
It's an interesting take. Scott, what's your thoughts on that?
On Jack Butland, I've seen Jack quite a lot when he was younger down in England, and like Gary was right about the Stoke thing. His confidence does drop, and his confidence drops, his performance drops. But Jack's been a very good keeper, but he's not been a class keeper. That's a problem. And I think because we're used to having good keepers like Al McGregor, Stephen Kloss, people like that, we always look for goalkeepers to be at a certain degree, but we've also had poor goalkeepers as well. I think out of goalkeepers we've got just now, Jack's obviously the best out of the two, and that's not including the young lads. So I think, listen, he's going to pull off saves in games, but he's also maybe got that mistake in each game. It's going to flare up now and again, and we just have to go on with it. We can't really do a lot because we can't change him. But I think as a good keeper, I think we maybe overrated him when he first came through the door, because not a lot of fans have seen him play because he's not played a lot of football. So we thought, why nobody else signed him? He was sitting third choice at Man United for a reason, and then he came up to Rangers and he had a chance. He came in and played really, really well. But so were we playing really well at the time. And then the performance started going. His performance started going. So I think it's just one of the things we have to carry on. He will make mistakes, and as a goalkeeper, when you can make 9 saves, but if you make the last mistake and it costs you the game or costs you a draw, you're winning the firing line. So I think Jack will play his first choice, but he's going to maybe have an odd mistake every couple of games or so, and we're just going to have to probably get used to it, which you don't want to do because there's not really any other choice because Liam Kelly's there. Liam Kelly's a decent keeper, but I still want to see better than Jack Butland.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I think it's a really good point. Then they make 9 saves, and but you remember the one that was a bad pass out, or or not, doesn't get a firm enough hand on it. Guys, thanks everyone that's watching at home. We've still got plenty of time left, so get your questions in. We've got a few to rattle through, but get some questions in, and we'll get them around the panel. Mitch, I wanted to ask you on the Jack Butland situation relating to this question. Do you think that drop off in form has potentially put clubs off Butland, where maybe teams that have come from the Championship into the Premier League or top of the Championship teams may have kept an eye on him, and maybe Clement had that as a kind of the joker in the pack, or he kept that under his hat, that maybe if the right bid came in, that funds our whole rebuild?
I'm going to say something probably out with the norm, and I need to hear me out on it.
Are you sure you want to say this? Before you do it,
I'm ready to do it. Like, it's fine. I can't get any more grey hair than I've already got. It's fine. Like, I think the Jack Butland situation's been over magnified by everybody in the stands. There's a lot of factors at play with Butland. I think he probably thought he was at least in with a shout with the Euros. Probably a bit of a kick in the teeth when he never made it, even as the third keeper. You've kind of got to feel some kind of way about that after you've had a really good season up here and in Europe. And I think there's also a lot to think about in front of him. He's not exactly had the world's most settled backline since probably April, between players dropping out left, right and centre, as we all know. I think, players were tying shoelaces and doing hammies in last season. Then you look at this season and you go, he's got another new backline in front of him. Okay, the core of it is still there with Tav on the right, Suter in front of him. But again, we've had variations of Big Leon in there. We've had Davy Proper in there. He started with Ridvan at left back with him. He's got Yefty in there. He's got Robbie Fraser coming through in there as well. We're still struggling in that backline for the consistency. And you need that consistency to form that relationships between your keeper and your defence. And I think Jack's been around the block long enough that I think he's had a couple of iffy games, and we all know, again, the old firm, nobody covered themselves in any glory. Spade's a spade here. Nobody covered themselves for any glory. But I think because everybody's been so vocally mad about other things at the club, I think it's one of these that if everything else behind the scenes was probably running smoother, nobody would be overanalyzing it as much.
Mm-hmm. It's fair enough, I think.
Sorry, Rob, you're going to be sick, just because I'm doing the challenge just a wee bit.
Go forth. I'm ready.
I hear this a lot, right? Do you know what? If it's a player that we like, we blame the people in front of the people around about them. If it's a player we're not like, it's the same argument you use, that the reason Butler's not playing well is because people in front of him aren't playing well, or the reason that Diamandi's not playing well is because when. And I always get a little bit concerned that we use it as a defence or an excuse for the players that we like, as opposed to a negative against players that are getting the abuse, being blunt about it. And I think that's sometimes where it's a little bit tricky. I mean, Butland's I think his form's poor, as was Tav's, as was Suter's, as was Dessers, etc., etc. But I always get concerned with hear people giving excuses. I'm seeing some of the comments as well. He's playing in front of a bad team. That's behind a bad team. He's one of that bad team at that time.
I don't necessarily. I'm not blaming anybody in front of him. I'm more saying that it's a fairly new backline unit, so they're basically needing to build the relationships between themselves, and that's not strictly just a Tav issue. That's not strictly just a Butland issue. Sorry, that's a issue between Tav relearning a relationship between Butland, Suter relearning one. We've got Proper learning one with Butland. He's never played many games with Butland before. Yefty has come here. He barely spoke a word of English before he came here, and he's now got a goalkeeper that only speaks English in a very thick English accent. That way, like, there's a lot going on within the back line, and I think hopefully with this international break that we've had, it probably gives the team a couple of weeks to clean things up at the back. Where I think the conversation surrounding Butland's performance should be analysed a bit more is probably come the end of this month, if he drops a couple of clangers again. And if he doesn't and things kind of go back to previously normal form, you go, right, okay, fair enough. Everybody was just reintegrating and getting used to each other at the back. If it continues on a little bit, then there probably has to be some question marks raised at that point of, is it a blip in form, or is there something a little bit more stinking going on behind it?
Be good to get your thoughts in the chat, guys. Apologies if my internet is a little bit dodgy. I sense it probably is. But I'm going to just bring this up here. So thank you very much, Doug, for helping us out on this one. So we've got some great food and drink names here. Mohammed Dio Brandy. Not bad, not bad. There's a few on there that are actually stinking, so I'm not even going to read them out. But my favourite is Lasagna Koulibaly. I think that one is brilliant. So thank you very much for that one, Doug. There was a question that came up earlier that I thought would be worth posing to the panel. If you can hear me okay, just shout
Yep,
if you
we can
can't.
hear you, mate.
Okay.
Good stuff, good stuff. And it was all about...
If you need help.
Yeah, I think it's just my internet, so I do apologise for this. It was about Yanis Hadji. So there's been a lot spoken about him, and I know there was a pod, a really interesting pod that was on earlier this week about whether or not he should be brought back into the team. But I was just interested, Scott, to get your take on it. Do we think that Yanis Hadji, given that he is, we're paying roughly £1 million a year to keep this player in what looks to be the B team, surely he deserves a shot at the first team, at least, if nothing else?
All comes down to the manager wants, and Clement's been quite consistent on he's not part of his plans. He's not said it once, he said it a few times. And Yanis has been out the door on loan and he's not played part really in 2 years. So, and he kind of said before he went to the Euros he wanted to leave anyway. And that reached his agent, and then he kind of backtracked and put that statement out. So, listen, if you're paying him wages, he's not going anywhere. And he's there in the building, and if you can use him, use him. Because we're paying him money anyway just to sit and watch. But I think Yanis knows he's not part of the manager's plans. The manager doesn't want him involved. But like you say, we are paying him a lot of money just to sit and watch and train with the B squad, which is another waste of money that we put out a contract for Yanis that should never have got in the first place. But it's there. So that's up to Clement. Does Clement say, right, maybe we're struggling, maybe Barjami's not pulling up trees, and maybe we're not doing great in games, and he says maybe Yanis can come in and show something, even like give us a couple of goals or create a couple of chances, I don't know. Or does he just be consistent that we've been going since the start of the season and say he's not part of my plans, and come January we'll try and get my way again? I saw him Clement. Yanis has stated twice he wants to stay, he loves the club, he loves the fans, but that was after he previously said before the Euros he wanted to go and he'd seen himself playing elsewhere. So, you know yourself with football, it's all smoke and mirrors, it's all, will tell you, managers lie, players lie, just whatever they want to show you. So, but if he's still in the building and you're paying him a lot of money, you give him a shot, why not? But I think come January we'll probably be away if he gets a club he wants. I think the problem is he can't get a club, he can't get a club that he wants to go to, and he thought maybe more clubs are going to come from than it actually had.
Yeah, it's a fair point, but I mean, Gary, surely by getting the guy, maybe there is a trigger on his clause that says that he'll be paid a certain amount more, but surely by getting this guy in the team and actually playing him, that puts him in a better position for a January sale, so we're not left with another Todd Cantwell situation.
So I've just seen a comment there from Ali saying Clement's too stubborn to bring him in, and I agree with that. I don't think there's anything that Clement said, as Scott said there, that suggests there's any way for him to play. I don't think he rates him as a player or doesn't fit into his plans. And I suppose the question is, if we back the manager surely has the right to pick who he wants to play. That's his prerogative. That's how football should work. Yes, we are thinking from a financial side, it's not right for somebody sitting there getting 25 grand a week, not doing a job for us. But if Philip Clement doesn't want me to play, that's his prerogative. He'll live and die with it come the end of it. I think it's a shame. I like Hadji. I think he's a good player. I think he could add value to the squad. But we are sitting on a wee box talking to each other. We're not getting paid to pick the team.
Very true. But let's dissect it a little more, Mitch. Yanis Hadji, Romania international, won a penalty there just in the break. Played at the Euros. Clearly one of our highest assets. I think it's arguable to say. What's your take?
I think the Hadji situation is two things can be true. I think start of the summer he definitely had his heart set that he was leaving. Do I think maybe agents, family members, and as we all know, he's got quite how can I put it politely? He's got quite a colourful entourage within his camp, and people who don't know how to keep their mouth shut and let him just get on with his job. You know, that's something that's been a problem for Hadji throughout his career at Rangers. You know, he barely kicked the ball with us, and his dad's trying to pimp him out to any top 5 league team that was, interested, worth their salt. And I think this has been the problem with Hadji from day one. The people within his camp don't know when to use their ears to listen and their mouths to keep closed. And I think actually we're now reached a point where potentially he's maybe had a couple of moves lined up in the summer, but has his camp told other teams, look, you could maybe get him as a free transfer, and the free transfer's not happened because we've refused to either release him from the contract, pay up the contract, which is also our right to do as a business. And I think we've also got to make a standpoint at that to other players. Look, we will not be bullied by you into doing what you want. You are being paid by us, and you signed the contract with us, and that is what that contract means, that until an expiration date of X, this is what you will be paid, and you will be paid by us. And not to necessarily say we own you as such, but, unless we tell you you can move to Club X on loan or on a fee, you'll either knuckle down and get in the team, or you'll be sent out somewhere. And I think that is where I find myself in a really, really big catch-22 with him is he did what he did last summer, after the cup game, and right idea, wrong place for the message that he delivered before he was sent off to Alves. There's a level of professional courtesy to your teammates that you don't do that to them straight after a cup victory, and throw your manager under a bus. Not that Mick Beale got many other things right, but I've said it from day one, his handling of that situation was correct. You can't have a player try to make an example of you at a press conference and not either show a set of stones, pardon the expression, because if he lets him just continue playing for the team at that point, he's a pushover. And then now we get to this summer, the start of the summer, we've had his camp say he's leaving, we've got offers lined up for him. Well, you knew what the price was for him before the start of the summer, and the price never changed throughout the summer. If those interested parties that you had won't put the money up for him, and quite frankly, then at that point, that's a you issue, because your job as an agent is to find him the club that he's going to. Now that we've reached the point that the window's closed, does he make a difference to our team? Yes, on a professional level. Has maybe the manager been told at a boardroom level, we don't want to sanction the new contract, so the party line is he's not playing for the club, and that's it, foot down, 10 toes down. If that's the case, somebody again, comes back to communication. Somebody for the club should just have the decency to come out and say, look, this is where we're at, our stance is we don't want to pay him the contract. Or is there a compromise where everybody sits down as adults and says, okay, we'll put your wage up a wee bit, but we're not pushing it up to 30 grand. If we're going to do that, certain caveats can be met. If you've not made X number of appearances by January or summer, you can move on at a free come the end of the summer. And I'm aware that contradicts the earlier point, but there has to be a resolution that we cannot be paying somebody 24, 25 grand a week to be playing in the B team.
Yeah.
Like, that's completely ludicrous to be spending nearly 100 grand a month on a B team player.
Yeah. I tend to agree. There's one point that I want to come on to about that's kind of linked with Hadji, but before I do, I've got to take my hat off to Doug yet again on some of his quite dreadful
Can we ban Doug? Can we ban Doug, please?
I think it could be a yellow card or a sin bin, a blue card maybe. So we've got James Sandswich. Nice try. Tor Andre Flora. Yeah, I guess. Robert Ritz Crackers. Oh, God, they're painful. Oh, why have I started this? What have I started?
Can someone
Thanks,
mute
Doug.
Doug for 24 hours, please?
Thanks, Doug, but no thanks. So I guess the point that I wanted to get onto regarding Hadji, and I've seen a lot of questions come in, so thanks for those that have come in. It's about fighting spirit, and one of the things that Hadji came out and said is, "I am ready to fight. I'm ready to fight for my place, for my shirt, and for the club." And one of the questions, I can't quite find it at the minute, was about do we have enough fighting spirit in the team at the minute, in the club at the minute? Gary, I'm going to come to you first on that, because all the good teams of old, all the good Rangers teams of old, tend to have had players in there who are ready to put their body on the line, ready to fight till the day is done. Do you think there's enough in the current squad, enough grit?
It's a question you can never answer, really, isn't it? It's a question nobody can answer, because it's based around people making a perception about the individuals that are playing, and what's in their heart and what's in their head, and how. So you don't really know. The game's evolved. You don't go slide tackles. You don't tackle people for the back. You don't do what Kevin Thompson done against Robbie Keane and slice him down 3 times in a game. That's what we think of when we think of fighting spirit, but that's not how football is now. Whether it be us, Man City, or any other team in the world, they don't. It's a different style. The way the emotions are shown, the way the game's played. You can't argue with referees. You can't necessarily have that same style that was prevalent 20, 30, 40 years ago. Do you know? And I think we then become hung up, suggesting that people don't care because they're not doing what nobody else is doing anyway. Just now, I mean, we all watch other games. I'm assuming we all watch other teams, and I don't see anything dramatically different in terms of how people are displaying their emotions on the football pitch between what you see in the Rangers game or your near neighbours across the roads game or a Liverpool game. Or it's modern day life, and as professional athletes, they can be not as good as other team at times. They can maybe not perform particularly well, but I don't think it's to do with fighting spirit. Personally, I struggle with that one, if I'm being honest.
Mitch, it'd be good to get your take on it. And I know this will probably split the fan base somewhat. I've always been someone that wants a crunching tackle. I want someone that is there, dedicated. Bomber Brown used to put his boots on and sit there stamping his feet in the dressing room an hour and a half before kickoff. Where's your head at?
But to be fair, obviously, this is something obviously we spoke about quite a bit off pod. You know, I have a soft spot for a psychopath on the pitch, and I need one just somebody that's going to go in there, 2-footed, hoof you down, lay a marker down, and I will say I've got half an eye on Cora Barron for that at the moment, where he's not shy in sticking a foot in there and leaving one on you early doors to let you know that he's there. But I think there's maybe a couple of other players that we've also seen it with Robin Proper. He's also laid in a couple of nice heavy ones where I'm at fair play, son. Let's see a wee bit more of that. But I think there's a couple of other players that need to get comfortable being uncomfortable in that position. Stick your foot in. Show me something that gives me a reason to get behind you. And then they'll soon start to see the fan reaction to them flip very quickly. I mean, I know obviously Gary touched on it. We're in an age now where if you sneeze near a player, they're down there as if they've been shot by a sniper. And it's that balance of that. But this is also part of why VAR has been brought in. These players that are going down like they've been shot by the sniper. Sorry, here's your yellow card for simulation. You've not been touched. Get a grip of yourself and grow up. You know, I am a bit of a sucker for an old-fashioned 2-footer. You know, give me a little bit more of it, but do it sensibly in the first place. Don't give them a reason to give you a card.
Yeah. Scott, you strike me as a traditionalist. Where's your head on this one?
Yeah, a bit like yourself, Ross, as in, I remember Terry Hurlock, he never really used to play with football. Terry just played football to hit folk, didn't he? But I just think, like Gary is right, football has changed, but the mentality we've got as a team, it's not so much a fighting mentality. I don't think the mentality is there behind the manager. I think some of the players will be, some won't, and I think it's when they struggle or it gets tough. There's only certain players in that team that stand up, and there's no many it does. We all always say Sterling, but sometimes he does hide as well. Connor Barron has done it because he's new in the building. He's still learning about the club. He's trying to show the club and show the fan base what he's all about. And he's come in and hit the ground running, and he looks superb at what he does. But there's guys there who just do enough to get by, and I don't know if it's because some of them look lost in the park. I don't know if they're getting the right instructions. I know I'm going off a tangent here, and it's different from what you're talking about, but I don't know if they're getting the right instructions. I don't know if they know where they're supposed to play. So I think that mentality is, I don't know if they trust their manager enough, and that's what I'm talking about mentality. Why it's not about fight. Listen, we can all go in the park and make a tackle. John Lundstrom done it last season, and he gets sent off because he was an idiot. That's all I think to do. So we don't want that kind of stuff. But you want players to fight as an 11, not as an individual. And we're not doing that. And I don't know if it's a team thing or is it half the team going in different direction because they're lost. There's no direction basically in the team. And is it because of the manager? I don't know, because at the end of the day, Ross, I could ask you, Gary and Mitch, and none of us could come up with how we play. And I think that's the issue. It's not to do with mentality, it's not to do with fighting. I think the issue is basics. And that's what we're lost with. We don't know how to do the basics properly.
I've got a question for you on seeing the sort of the passion and the fire in the belly. We saw Lundstrom get sent off in his, I think it turned out to be his last game for Rangers against Celtic. Was that blood and thunder? Was that what we want to see? Mitch, I'm going to pose this one to you.
No, that was stupidity from Lundstrom. That was rush of blood to the head moment, and I think at that point John Lundstrom already knew he was leaving, and I think he intentionally set out to go out there and make an absolute rip-roaring, better not use the word I was about to there, rip-roaring mess of a tackle. I don't believe that was his intention, but what we got was something short of the Rocky Horror Show. You can't go out there like that. But what I would say is, Scott touched on something a wee minute ago, where he said Sterling's name. I've noticed there's a tendency when Sterling gets a card, whether that be first half or quite early in the second, that's when Dijon Sterling tends to go hiding at that point, where he kind of goes. And I think he's kind of sussed that there is a wee bit of a, up here, if you do one too many, a little bit firm in there, the referees will give you the warning with the yellow, but then they're very quick to follow up with the red. And I think that's maybe something that over the course of this season we want to see a bit more, maybe a bit more control, not just necessarily in our games, but across the SPL itself of, okay, you've had your yellow card, you're back to almost strike one. If you do something absolutely rip-roaring stupid, by all means you're in strike two, there's your red. But if your next tackle is a bit of a niggly late one and it's no malice behind it, referee pulls you aside, right son, that's enough, cool the head a minute. At that point, if your gaffer needs to pull you, he needs to pull you. But you should be able to have an honest enough relationship with the ref to say, all right, okay, hands up, I've used my quota for the day here. Next one, he is going to give me a red card. And I think that probably comes down to what Gary had also mentioned even previously about how football's, I don't want to say got soft, because I'm going to sound like I'm one of these, I am a bit of a sicko, but not that much of a sicko, where I'm like, give me 80s Blade Runner football. Like, I think there has to be a bit of a happy medium between player safety and it's a physical sport, it is a contact sport. I come from a rugby playing background, you know what I mean? If you get scudded and you didn't get up, then you know it was a sore one. If you get scudded and you got up properly, then you're like, okay, lay one on me later and show me. And but that's something that across football that's driven me up the wall for, at least 5 plus years now. Where you're like, look, we're not in the theatre here, we're playing a physical sport. Grow a set and take a tackle.
Yeah, and look, I tend to agree. There is a fine balance, and I think touching on what you said, Scott, Clement will probably want to see his players disciplined and not losing their rag too much on the pitch, which kind of goes away from that maybe 80s style football. We're going to wrap up in a second, but before we do, there was just a couple of ones that I thought would be worth mentioning here. Curry Muncher, well, foul Clement. That's pretty good and very apt for you, my friend. My personal favourite for the evening goes to Mitch, Bailey rice pudding. Amazing, unbelievable. It's so bad it's good. So look, keep those coming on. If you're watching this delayed, please do put them in the comments. It's been a real journey tonight. We've had everything from Tor Andre Flora to psychopaths on the football pitch to Blade Runner 80s two-footed tackles from Mitch. So you can't say you don't get bang for your buck here on the Rangers Journal. Gary, Scott, and Mitch, thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure having you on. And to everyone at home, every night is the Rangers.